You all know that the Iraqi constitution created and adopted the federalism in 2005. And very clearly it's allowing the Khorasan region to develop its oil and gas, natural resources, including oil and gas. But unfortunately, till now, the federal government failed to implement the federalism system in this regard. And still they are, unfortunately, using and implementing laws and legislations which belong to the Saddam's regime. Still, the law is belong to the 1976, while it is really against the Iraqi constitution. If you look at the Iraqi constitution, it's very clearly divided the powers between the Khorasan region and the federal government. If you look at the Article 110, there are listed all the exclusive authorities for the federal government, and you will not find anything, any articles, any paragraphs regarding the oil and gas. So it's clear that constitutionally the oil and gas is not included in the exclusive authorities for the Iraqi federal government. According to this legal constitutional basis, for the first time the Khorasan region in 2007 enacted the oil and gas law, while we were in the absence of federal oil and gas in whole Iraq. And after validating of this legislation in Khorasan region, many international oil companies came to Kurdistan, and as I heard from my colleague Minister Kamal, that more than $25 billion has been invested in the oil and gas sector in Kurdistan region. And you are all aware that ExxonMobil came in 2011 as an American oil company. They signed 6 PSCs with the Khorasan regional government, Ministry of Natural Resources. Chevron came, they signed 2 production sharing contracts at that time. Hant Oil, and after that HKN and Western Zagros. So we noting that the American international oil company, they have a really very essential role in promoting and developing the oil and gas sector in Khorasan region. In 2014, February, the Iraqi government cut the share transfers, money transfers to the Khorasan region. And really it was a very huge economic shock and financial shock for the Khorasan region. So the Khorasan region obliged to export oil independently from the Baghdad in May 2014 for the first time through the pipeline. And this process continued until 2023, when the International Chamber of Commerce arbitration case against Turkey is not allowed anymore to exporting oil through the pipeline. Even Iraq won $1.8 billion in the arbitration case, but unfortunately since March 2023, the finance in Iraq and Khorasan region, we lost almost more than $20 billion. From the financial perspective, really, the arbitration case and the closure of the pipeline really hurted the finance in Khorasan region. So after 2023, according to the new Iraqi budget law, because at the absence of having a federal oil and gas law, we were managing the oil and gas sector since 2005 until now in the frame of the Iraqi budget law, which is not the right place, the Iraqi budget law, to be managing the oil and gas sector and resolving the conflicts between Iraq and Khorasan region, Baghdad and Erbil. In the legislation of the budget for 3 years, 2023, 2024, 2025, for the first time, Khorasan region agreed that the Kurdistan oil will be exported through SOMO, which is a state company for oil marketing. And the revenue of the exported oil will be transferred to the Ministry of Finance. But the Kurdistan was expecting, in return, we are getting our share from the Iraqi budget law. But the articles in the Iraqi budget law really was interpreted by the Ministry of Oil with a very limited, narrow interpretation. They offered at the beginning just $6 per barrel for the cost of production and transportation, which doesn't work for the IOCs and for the production sharing contract. You know, there is a huge difference between the contract that has been signed in Iraq and the one that has been signed in Khorasan region. There in the Khorasan region, we have a production sharing contract. In the rest of Iraq, the mostly is the service contracts. Even lately, they have a profit sharing contract, which is very close from the economic model and commercial terms, is very close to the production sharing contract. really this $6 doesn't work at the beginning. So the federal government and the Khorasan region, we worked very closely together to amend the Iraqi budget law for the first time in 2025. And the $6 has been increased to be $16, which is really a progress in the negotiation regarding resuming the export, the oil export through the pipeline. And in the amendment, we agreed that we will hire a technical consultant, because the $16 will be like an advance payment. And this technical consultant will come and evaluate and estimate, looking at the production sharing contract, looking at the R factor, and looking at the economic model and the commercial term of the production sharing contract, to know if this $16 is matched with the economic model of the contract or should be reduced. So it has been almost like 6 months. We are negotiating with the Iraqi government, and we have a third party, which they are producers of the oil. Our situation is not like Iraq. Iraq, they have their national oil companies. Even the marketing is through the national SOMO company. But really in Khorasan region, everything is through the private sector. So the main point that really now it's outstanding between the Khorasan regional government and Baghdad and the IOCs is about the role of the technical consultant. Iraqi government and Ministry of Oil asking that the technical consultant should have ability and authority to review the economic model and the commercial terms of the contract, which has been really rejected by the IOCs. As Matt in the first panel really explained very well, that the production sharing contracts has been recognized by the judicial system in Iraq. The KRG Commercial Court in Baghdad recognized all the PSCs that has been signed by the Khorasan regional government with the IOCs, and even the appeal, which is the highest judicial authority in Iraq, ratified the resolution and the ruling by the commercial court in Baghdad. So now the Iraqi judicial system is recognizing the production sharing contract, as well as I explained at the beginning that the constitution as well is like another constitutional frame for this production sharing contract. So we are trying now to find another language that compromise the technical consultant will try to find the real cost of the transportation and for the production. And there is a progress as well in this regard. We all three parties, we agreed that we will hire Wood Mackenzie, which they are top consultants around the world. They are providing such consultancy to the governments, to the companies. Second issue is regarding the payment. Still, the IOC, they are asking for guarantees for this, paying these $16 by the Ministry of Finance. So we agreed about having an escrow account, and the Khorasan regional government will compensate the IOCs through these escrow accounts. And Baghdad really agreed that we will compensate IOCs in kind. This is really another progress in this regard, because before they didn't allow that compensation to the oil companies being through the oil in kind. Yeah. And from our side as a government, really Khorasan regional government from the very beginning agreed that SOMO will be the entity that's exporting oil, selling oil to the international market. And as well, we agreed from our side that the revenue of the oil export will going to the Ministry of Finance. But unfortunately, because we couldn't reach any concrete agreement, after amending the budget law to resumption the oil export, still the local sales inside Khorasan is continued. Unfortunately, still the oil in Khorasan region is sold in a very low prices. So Iraq and Khorasan region, they are really damaging the finance and the budget in whole Iraq by closure of the ITP. So the resumption of the oil export will be in the benefit not just for Khorasan region, for whole Iraq. If we are assuming now that the oil of Kurdistan will be sold in the international market, let's say with 320,000 barrels, the net revenue after deducting the expenses will be like $800 million, which is covering the Kurdistan salary. So from the financial perspective, from the constitutional perspective, even from the local legal or judicial frame, all supporting the resumption of the export oil to the international market. In 2005, we agreed with Baghdad that we are getting 17% of the Iraqi budget law. And this process continued until the end of 2013. As I mentioned, in February 2014, this transfers has been cut totally by Baghdad. From 2014 until 2023, really there were no any transfers by the Ministry of Finance in Baghdad to Kurdistan region. So we ran our economic and we pay salary through the oil export revenues. But in 2023, really for the first time we agreed with Baghdad that we are transferring our oil to SOMO and the revenue is going to Baghdad. And the non-oil revenue, we can share it with Baghdad, 50%. And then we are expecting that we are getting our share from the Iraqi budget law, which is more than $11 billion per year. But unfortunately, in 2023, still they put another term in the Iraqi budget law, which belonged to 2015, when Haider al-Abadi was the prime minister, actual expenses. So Kurdistan region was not getting its own actual numbers that has been stated in the budget law. We were getting 50% of these numbers. So it doesn't work for the salaries. So I remember in 2016, 2017, we obliged to cut salaries of the civil service to be 50%, sometimes with 25%. So the Kurdistan region really faced a very huge economic crisis. But the problem was that they mixed the salary of the civil servant to the oil obligations. But the federal court in Baghdad, they ruled against Baghdad that the salaries should be separated from any political conflicts between Baghdad and Erbil. Since 2023, 2024, and these 4 months for 2025, we are getting our salaries from Baghdad. But unfortunately, still they are making some excuses and technical issues. Now, there are zero technical problems in our payroll. In our balance sheet, we are sharing our balance sheets every month to Baghdad, Ministry of Finance. And very transparently, we are showing our revenues and our expenditures. And then every employee in Kurdistan region, they have their own biometric registration. They have a unique personal number. And through the My Account project now, the government is trying to every employee at the government, they are getting their salary through the banking, through the credit card. With this really not just for like a financing and transferring money to the employee through the banking. It is, a great tool for money laundering issues. And what is really U.S. is very concerned about the currency of dollar and the managing through the central bank of Iraq. So really, according to the constitution, we are entitled to get our share from the Iraqi federal revenues, not from the expenses. Then the Kurdistan region has its constitutional authority, how we are distributing our share that we are receiving from Baghdad for the operation costs, for the salaries, for the investment project. So at the last cabinet meeting in Erbil, really, the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers requested the Minister of Finance, Minister of Natural Resources, and Minister of Planning to try, propose, and find another constitutional tool to deal with for the next 3 years budget law. Because in September this year, the Ministry of Finance trying to have another 3 years budget law for 2026, 2027, and 2028. So we stated very clearly that according to the Constitution, really we want to have our share, which is according to the last census, population census, our share in the population of Iraq is more than 14%, not 12.67 that has been put in the Iraqi budget law for 2023 and 2024, 2025. So really, there are a good cooperation now between Baghdad and Erbil regarding budget. A joint committee from the Supreme Auditing Board in Kurdistan and in federal government, they are doing every 3 months, since 2023, they are auditing every finance issues in Kurdistan region, including oil as well. And they are presenting joint reports to the Prime Minister Sudani and Prime Minister Masroor Barzani. So technically, I think now we are in a better situation with Baghdad regarding the payroll, biometric registration. The only thing that stayed now as outstanding issue is the non-oil revenues. Non-oil revenues, really, we have a taxation, we have a customs, and we did a great reform. Imagine in 2023, the revenue of the Khorasan region, non-oil revenues, was like a $2.8 billion. Whole Iraq, with the 15 provinces, was not more than $10 billion. So it means that the Khorasan region has made some serious reforms in the non-oil revenues, especially in the customs and taxation. So we have two options with Iraq. The first is if we are transferring all our non-oil revenues to Baghdad, in return, we are entitled to get our other allocations, not just salaries, because we have allocations for the operation budget, for the investment project allocations as well. And the second option, that we are keeping 50%, as we are doing now, of these non-oil revenues, because the government is not just salaries. You have a health, security, education. So within these 50% of our non-oil revenues, we are running the other sectors of the government, and the other 50% we are transferring to the Ministry of Finance. Just yesterday, we transferred April federal share of the non-oil revenues to Baghdad, and we are sharing our balance sheet every month with Baghdad in a transparent way to know about all expenses and revenues. So I am really ambitious and optimistic that within a frame of the Iraqi budget law for the next 3 years, we will find another tool, because this doesn't work anymore. Actual expenses and 12.67% of the Iraqi expenses that transfer into Khorasan. And really, we need to separate salary from such conflicts. Sometimes they are linking the oil outstanding issues and the non-oil revenues issues with the sometimes political, concerns will be linked to the salaries. Salaries, it's a legal right for the employee. It's not linked to any political. And the Constitution is very clearly saying that the equality should be dealt with every citizen in the whole Iraq. And the Supreme Court really very clearly resolved the salary issue. So we are expecting that we will not face the same problem that we faced really in the last 4 months for the next months for 2025.